welcome everybody once again to a Safe Place podcast. And this week we're going to talk about something that might not seem anything connected to the terminology mental health, but I'm sure we can find a way of putting it into that category. And it's probably to do with the child trafficking stories that we've been hearing going around and the Jeffery Epstein stories. So Ryan, I know again, welcome back this week, by the way.
Hello.
It was a right miss to not have you here last week. It wasn't that, actually. It was actually quite a nice little surprise. So, talk to us, bro. What you got for us?
Well, it's just a lot going on at the minute with the media. With stories that we've seen, videos that we've seen with Isaac Kappa.
Yeah.
And he's basically just threw a massive uproar. Huge information about Hollywood and the child abuse.
Now, is this that guy that I've seen on some YouTube videos? He's got that slightly scruffy curly hair.
Yeah, I mean, it was an actor himself. I only ever seen him in Thor.
It was in
the first one, and it wasn't very long. But I don't know. It's technically he's still a Hollywood actor.
Was it the guy that you seen in 4? Which number 4 was it? Was it
The first?
4-1.
Yeah, so he was the one that owned the pet shop.
So it weren't 4-4.
No, Thor.
Okay. So this guy, right? So I had a theory on this guy, and I spoke to you about it, didn't I? It's the idea that he was an actor.
Yeah.
Now I've got a feeling it's an alternate point of view, and I'm not saying that this is right in any way, shape, or form. It's just an opinion. So he's come out with all these allegations that certain celebrities are basically paedophiles, and he's named them. And he's shamed them, and what he's done is this poor guy who's going through some sort of crisis in his own life, he's actually killed himself, hasn't he, Ron?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got a few stories where people in powerful positions, lots of money, lots of fame, lots of power in their certain areas, certain departments, probably in the government and all sorts of industries, and they abuse that authority. And the stories coming out where what are they doing? Taking advantage of innocent people.
There's loads that we can talk about, to be fair. But Harvey Weinstein has named over 200 powerful people, which are all connected as well.
So it's some sort of, it looks like it could be, if it's not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, but is this fact? This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is the only thing.
Harvey Weinstein has named 200 people. Where have we heard this from? Is it YouTube? What type of media platform have we seen?
You've got to be careful about the fake news and the conspiracy
Now,
theories.
because this is a mental health podcast primarily, what I want to try and do is get the message across that if this gentleman who's committed suicide was spending, was it months beforehand, talking about what these apparent celebrities have done?
Pretty much, yeah, talking about it.
Where was the support in his life? Where was anybody reaching out to him and trying to give him some sort of support?
It's a tough one because in his videos, he didn't really have support, but it's like he was announcing that he feels that something is going to happen to him, like he's going to be killed.
It's just a
with
shame.
The information that he gives.
Let's look at it these two ways, the fascinating two ways. Let's say that he's right, and that he feels completely misheard, and that he's actually trying to help people by getting this information out there. And it's almost like the world or the powers that be don't want the information out, so he feels like he's unheard or acknowledged. And that pain inside of him had got that much, he's killed himself. Or let's look at the alternative.
Or what if the information that he knew led him to kill himself because he couldn't live with what he knows?
That's true.
What he's saying.
But let's flip it. Let's flip it and say that what if he was just a guy that has many aspirations, like many people that join Hollywood, and they really want to achieve their dream of becoming this facial figure.
Big time actor.
Yeah. And as a result of that feeling that he never quite made it to the platform that he wanted to be could have stirred so much hatred inside of him.
To sabotage.
And then he projects that out and it makes up a story in a sense. And that's what's most important here. Unfortunately, someone has died, and now we're speaking about hypothetically or theories as to the reason why he has. And the incredible thing is, everyone can jump to conclusions on social media. Everyone can go out in a sense and find out there's a witch like they did hundreds of years ago. Some woman was making lovely herbs to heal people, And then people misunderstood what was going on, and they went out there and they hung these people that they called witches. And in a sense, what I see on social media again now is the idea that there's some sort of something going on. There's no smoke without fire. But what people automatically do is they download within their conscious attention a reality without even questioning it. And then straight away, out come the pitchforks, and out comes the pain and hatred to hurt people, or even just to acknowledge that they're doing something which can actually tarnish an innocent person's name or create suffering until the facts are out.
So what we're seeing is it's, even though to the average guy on the street it's just a story, and it's just a story to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you heard Tom Hanks has been accused? Have you heard this person has been accused? Have you heard Mr. Burns has been accused? It's like, if you think about it, what are we talking about? We're talking about serious mental health, whether you've got power or whether you haven't, whether you've got money or whether you haven't. But if you've got power and money, and you've got this dark shadow that wants to do bad things, then that comes out, and it's far worse because it can silence people with money.
Yeah, that's it.
It's, as you say, the best way to any type of scientist that formulates some sort of hypothesis, he creates an experiment and he makes it on a small scale to see if it's relative to how it would work on a large scale. So let's break it down with the idea that, let's say that there are these elite, powerful people that are trafficking children or abusing children, and then those powerful people that make the laws, make the legal system, and control the powers that be, allow that information to be completely suppressed, right? And the way of breaking it down on a small level is the idea that a gentleman down the road who is under the label as a paedophile is seen in a sense as a type of predator. So what he will do is he'll need to have a certain need met, and it's an impulsive sexual appetite for somebody of a certain age, right? And what he will do is he will manipulate family members to try and get a way of gaining access to that child so he can fulfill his instinctual desires, okay? And he will use every amount of power that he's got within his disposal, lies, manipulations, kindness in a sense, to try and get that child to a situation where he can fulfill himself. Now you imagine that same sexual appetite and that same instinct inside somebody that owns billions of pounds. Imagine the manipulation, the control and the abuse of power that they can swindle to try and meet their needs.
It can be massive, can't it?
It's frightening. Now let's imagine that, I don't know what the percentages are, but let's again look at the idea that Great Britain has a certain amount of people within it that has an appetite for fulfilling themselves with people underage, okay? And you can break that percentage down and you can say, well, then you can guarantee that there'll be a number of people within power, within wealth, that share that same appetite, and that they will abuse that power in the same way that somebody who lives in a tiny little cul-de-sac who has those tendencies will abuse their power. So we can use the rule of thumb here too, and let's be conscious of the rule of thumb that we're using. We're hypothesising, we're coming up with a theory, but it's not based on consensus reality yet. It's not a fact yet. Now the question is it not a fact because the information's been suppressed by the media and the people with the power and the control, or is it not fact yet because it's not happening the way that we're perceiving it to happen?
Well, I think, sorry, Roy, I think that we can break the connection down to mental health quite easily.
Yeah.
By taking a massive backward step and asking yourself, have you ever done something instinctively to feel comfortable? Have you ever manipulated a situation for your gain and even defended it that it wasn't that fact? Now, this is what people do that you call disgusting, horrible people that should be locked up. We do this at a low level, and okay, we probably just harm people in a different sort of way, not always deep emotional scarring.
You wouldn't indirectly harm somebody that you're competing with to get a job, aren't you? You're putting yourself forwards and indirectly causing them anguish when they don't get that role.
This is just happening at the top of the tree.
It is, yeah.
Now, the big question it throws up for me is why, when all that we've ever known is that money brings you happiness. If you have anything you want, all the distractions in the world, and you can do it at any time you want, and you have the fame and the celeb, pure fulfillment of ego, why do they still abuse people and do things that are morally wrong? That's the question I want answered. Why
Well, it's
is
a
it not enough?
deep-rooted, instinctual, impulsive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, chain of power. Like, I feel like that because they have so much already, that they can do that to these people.
Yeah,
to these kids.
On a spectrum of narcissism, and in
Yeah.
a sense, we're all narcissistic because we all want to fulfill our own self-interests. But there's a level between almost a balance between not full narcissism on one scale and someone being able to feel empathy on another.
Yeah.
And let's try and have a look at the facts of, let's bring Jeffrey Epstein into it, for example. Now, we've all seen the Netflix series, and one thing that's supposed to be taken on board is the idea that I've seen something on Netflix, so it means it's true. Not necessarily. It's a story that's being told, and not all the facts will ever be brought in. But based on the Netflix series,
The Toy Story wasn't based on true events.
Toy Story. Sex Toy Story was, but not Toy Story. So basically, Jeffrey Epstein, right? He had a lot of money and mixed with a lot of high-profile celebrity and even politicians. And he had a complete appetite for underage girls. And even when his bollocks was on the chopping blocks and he was close to going to prison and there was charges against him, he still, once they managed to manipulate the court and the government allowed that court manipulation to take place to free him after he'd served a small amount of time in prison, he still went out and carried on abusing girls. Now, was it because the instinct inside of him was that powerful? He couldn't control himself in the same way that a heroin addict can't stop taking heroin.
Instinct for what?
Having sex with underage girls? Or was it the fact that he fought with the celebrity friends he had and the celebrity politicians that he had, that he would be protected from what he was doing?
But either way, he knew he was morally wrong, didn't he? He knew there's not one point when he took advantage of a younger person or a victim where he didn't know.
We're going into deep.
He was wrong.
Now we're going deep into it, aren't we? Because let's
So
look at what is morally wrong.
First of all, let's answer why.
Yeah.
Why do they do this? Now, I want to argue in the fact of, are they born to do it, like you said, that it's no choice in their head?
Yeah.
So, in a way, they're not
Morally
wrong.
Or has he been through some sort of abuse himself? I mean, that's one thing that the Netflix series never talked about. Let's have a look at
and that doesn't justify him anyway.
No, but let's have a look at Jeffrey Epstein before the abuse. Let's see if there was anything in his childhood which could have created such a narcissistic man that would only care about fulfilling his own needs and not even feel the empathy enough to understand that he's hurt people.
And let's just say that the story is he was abused, he was corrupted at a young age. Does that create the monster? Or if you had two loving parents, what is the defining moment? Is it already genetic? Is it already in the mind? Is it created? Nature, nurture? Is it the power? I am God. He gets to the point where not the spiritual, I am God, I want to help the world. I am God ego.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
I want to control the world.
It's the same thing a serial killer goes through as well. Once he's killed his first victim,
And
it's a sense of power, like,
And
I am God.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
Or
with,
when it gets to the third victim down the line and he's still not been caught, it's that. I ain't been caught because I've committed murder.
And it's that thirst
And
as
it
well.
makes me want to do it more.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a sexual thing for the serial killer as well.
Makes
'cause
you want to do it more, what do you mean?
No, not me.
Freudian slip. Right. So, I think the most important...
Predatory, basically.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly right. It is predatory in the same sense that we're all predatory. We all go out every day trying to fulfill our own needs. Now, some of those needs actually hurt a lot of people, like Jeffrey Epstein. And some of those needs hurt not many people. We're just suffering in our own need to fulfill ourselves in some way, whether it be a career, fame, being in close relationships with family members that we feel that we're not quite getting at the moment. We're always trying to fulfill our own needs. So everyone, in a sense, is a narcissist. And it's going to make people uncomfortable to hear that, because one of the most incredible things about us is the idea that we always need to create an enemy or somebody else that is different to us. Now, the idea is that you see a lot of things in terms of relationships with people, and it's like somebody will say, I was with a narcissist. And it was like, well, how long was you with the narcissist for? I was with him for 6 years. I gave him so much. But they kept hurting me. Well, anyway, that's another topic.
And you created it, didn't you?
In
basically,
a sense,
the story is you create,
because you wanted something
that
from
you
the
see.
narcissist. You wanted the narcissist to love you properly, so you'd give more and more and more, and they wouldn't give it.
and then blame yourself.
That's why you get hurt more, because you're trying your best.
Well,
You're trying your best. You're trying to give your all to someone that just doesn't give it back.
And that's why it's so much a shame, because there's suffering on both sides. You're just as much a narcissist as a narcissist. The sad thing is, you're not even conscious you are, so you suffer. If you had any idea what you was looking for unconsciously, trying to fulfill your needs through somebody that could never fulfill them, but your early upbringing has been trying to buy the love and gain the love and appreciation for somebody that can't love you correctly, you're going to be hardwired to look for that in a partner. And the sad thing is, they'll never give it.
well, you can't ever get love unless you love yourself. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. And this is the cure for what we're talking about. This is the cure for paedophilia. Paedophilia is not going to be cured by a tablet, a medication that says you're wrong, you are mentally unstable.
And this is important now, because paedophilia is definitely going to be our next episode. In terms of how we can begin to break down
sex offenders, it's all the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all any evil. And what we're trying to say is, and we blast on about this a lot, evil is cured by pure love, and you can't love anybody without that love for yourself. So it starts right there, and this is probably going to be broken down more in the next episode.
So let's break that down a little bit. Let's throw all this child trafficking, Jeffrey Epstein, all the potential celebrities which has been thrown out there, which I'm not going to believe in or fight for until it's fact, right? Let's throw it all to one part, and let's talk about then, okay, if it's love, how does a young Jeffrey Epstein, who's not even conscious of his sexuality yet, who's 7 years old, that at some point in his future, like an acorn has within its DNA, the potential and the ability to grow from a tiny shell like that nut into a giant oak tree, that somewhere in Jeffrey Epstein there's a similar type of pattern within his molecules or his DNA that could potentially grow into something like that. And what you're talking about is that's the nature. Can the nurture or the wow? Let's say that Jeffrey Epstein was always destined to become an abuser, always destined to genetically destined, wired to be attracted to young girls. How could we love Jeffrey Epstein at the age of 8, also not knowing of his potential? But how could we give him the right love so he doesn't grow into a person that can completely abolish any empathy for anyone?
Okay, so I'm going to give it a stab.
Yeah.
My argument is everything is a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
So if you judge that person, you are saying that you are this egotistical God, which you actually don't like in Epstein, in any bad person that you see bad. Now that's your version of reality. Now, to be able to love him, you need to love yourself first. Now, this isn't just this like...
so what you're saying basically is if you found a way of loving yourself, there wouldn't be any victims. That's one thing,
look
isn't it?
through your eyes and you will see the person is at a level of awareness, the person is at a level of intelligence, the person is a place where you have suffered as well.
Yeah.
You have been there in the past. And that's where you can look and say, you know what, I'm not going to try and just push in the queue in front of you because you are nothing to me. I'm not going to just drive past you even though you look like you're falling over. I'm not going to abuse you because you're 12 and I've got the power to take advantage of you. And that's where you cannot hurt another single soul, even a butterfly, because you realise that you're all interconnected as one being, and to do that would be to destroy yourself.
Yes, now it's took you to the age of 37 to learn this
Slow starter, sorry.
through suffering. How do we give it to... It's the idea that there's a Jeffrey Epstein everywhere.
Oh, they're coming up now, aren't they?
Yeah,
in
they're
the
literally-
schools, how many people
Yeah.
in the schools are going to be arrested for
Yeah.
crimes
Yeah.
that they don't even know they're about to commit?
No, and that is so sad. That is so sad. Let's imagine how unconscious Jeffrey Epstein was of his condition, of his nature, of who he was. Imagine if there was something there, the right type of guidance, the right type of love at a crucial age in his
Even
life.
just spotting it, look
Yeah.
in the schools.
Yeah.
How many times do you see a child? There was a recent Netflix documentary as well about a child that was abused by their parents. And there was opportunity and opportunity and opportunity again by teachers and social services who went round there and saw bruises and shaved heads and the place where he used to sleep and the fact that he'd lost weight and the fact that he'd been to hospital with a broken rib again. And they did nothing
And why did they do nothing?
because they don't love themselves enough to realise that child is them. That
Yes.
child is them.
Yes, but it's not only that either, is it? I mean, look, there's so many other different boundaries in the idea. It's like, have you got the freedom to love somebody like that? Have you got the hours? Have you got the wages? Have you got the shelter over your own head? Have you got the people above you threatening to fire you if you
No,
give that child more
because you know what would
attention?
happen if you kidnapped that child yourself, knowing that you took it away from that family? You would get arrested.
Yeah.
So
so
it's
the
like-
whole system is built
Yeah.
to make love almost
Impossible.
not almost impossible, but difficult as fucking hell.
Because it's
you've got to
corrupt.
lose your soul, you've got to lose your ego and everything that you identify with to put all that to one side. Your money, your cars, your
And
wealth,
this-
your games, and you've got to choose to take a different path. Haven't
You've got to lose everything to gain.
Now, can we do this? I personally don't think we can. I think individually we can, but as a collective, what I see at the minute is we are so lost. We are so out of touch with reality.
We're doomed in so many circumstances. Every place I go now is just selfishness. I want this for me. Give it to me now, and I will happily walk over your carcass to get it.
Yeah.
And that's just down low level
Yeah,
stuff.
and we all have it. We have it now on
Yeah.
this podcast. It's like I see selfishness in the world, and I want the world to be the way I want it, so I feel better, which is just as selfish. But the beautiful thing is, there's polar opposites of selfishness. There's a positive side of selfishness that benefits a lot of people, and there's a negative side of selfishness which only benefits the individual, which has a massive consequence on a lot of people.
And then you've also got that, like paint, like walking around wet paint, it splashes onto you.
Yeah.
So you want to be this positive, loving person and
Yeah.
see everyone through these beautiful eyes that there's just pure love out there. But then you get stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
Then you hear something that's like negative against
So
you,
we're
and
gonna
then
have
you
to-
like defend yourself.
We're going to have to call it under a wraps now, but it's the idea that there is nothing wrong with being selfish. Everyone's selfish. Everybody wants what's best for them. But imagine if we chose the opposite route. We turned 180 degrees and we went, you know what? I actually selfishly want to have less than somebody else. I want to give something of myself to benefit somebody else because they are me. We are one. We are this being of selfishness. So we can create or try and create a different world because it's all potential. We can do this.
And do you know what? Not one man could stop Epstein in the end.
Yeah.
A group of people managed to do it. Now, a massive group of people need to stop 1 million Epsteins from being born,
Yeah.
growing up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we can do this in mass. If the love becomes the mass,
Yeah.
we can. But we're literally 95%
Choosing the love
behind.
and rejecting the fear. So instead of protecting the Jeffrey Epsteins, you risk to lose your status in the hierarchy, your celebrity, your political status, because you're choosing to reject fear and go down the path of love. And that's the only way out of this shit, isn't it? So it brings us to an end of this podcast, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.